if I was commissioner and I was going to be talking with the owners and the players, I would be getting rid of the DH altogether. I love and I grew up on the DH. Like I grew up in Toronto, so American League City, and I love my DHs, the Dave Parkers of this world, the David Ortizes, and I understand the rationale where somebody can't necessarily play the field to a capable level and why it's good and give them rest days. And DH has a lot of great attributes of why it got put into place. But you grew up on the National League game. You were in the Cardinals system. You were in the Marlins system. There's talk now that this is pretty much now a guarantee that when we're going to come to start the 2022 season, the universal DH is here. We can kiss National League style baseball goodbye. What are your thoughts? Do you love or hate the universal DH?
Yeah, I love the national side of the game, the National League side of the game. I love the strategic moves that the manager has to make, whether it be a double switch, whether it be trying to figure out the best time to bring in the relief pitcher, how to navigate these different batting lineups. That's one thing I do love, but the one thing that I love about the DH coming into play now is I've seen as a player that the pitchers don't put any time and effort into the offensive side of the game anymore. There's no pitchers that are really focused on hitting the way that they should, not even practicing bunting the right way. We see so many injuries now to pitchers because they're not actually practicing hitting, not practicing getting out of the box, not practicing running the bases. For me, that comes into play. And then now knowing that there's a lot of pitchers that are just going to stand there and not even swing the bat, that's a good waste of a minute or two of my life watching this game of baseball. And I don't have time to waste. So I want to see guys that are going to swing the bat. So I love the idea of the DH coming into play because I want to see more action. I want to see more hitters actually up there swinging the bat.
So we got players of all sorts of levels. And you're right. Maybe it's not the way it was back in the day when the Greg Maddixes of the world, would come up to bat and be really competitive up there, and Tom Glavines, they had a different mindset of it. And I remember watching back in the day Chinman Wang for the Yankees in Houston and rounding the bases, injuring himself, just rounding the bases, and here's their most valuable starting pitcher, and he was never the same after that. He never really recovered. And, people think as a pitcher, it's all about the arm, but the legs make a big difference. Whether you're a hitter, a pitcher, a golfer, a tennis player,
Absolutely.
leg strength is a really big thing. And you blow out your quads, you blow out your calves, it's really, really tough to generate power, and Chinman Wang never really recovered from it. Unfortunately, he was a great one, and I could see from that side of it. But, on the same token, I think of Edgar Martinez, back in the day, great player for the Mariners. He was a third baseman, and he was playing an exhibition game in Vancouver out there, and he rounded third base, and he got injured, and that's what led to him to ultimately being a DH because of the condition. So it can happen to a hitter as well. But I can certainly see the side of it that a pitcher, because it's not something they do, something they focus on, that they're exposing themselves way more to risk. But on the other hand of it, what you were saying earlier, I keep coming back to Sunday Night Baseball, but you got the Cubs and the Cards, and you're watching it. It's the bottom of the seventh, and you're down by a run. You got 2 on, 2 out, and your pitcher's up to bat. What do? He's been pitching a hot game. Do you want to take him out now and risk that part of it? But on the other hand, if you don't take him out, you're gonna potentially get the out versus bringing in a fresh bat off the bench. So that's why I love the strategy of the National League game, and I really feel like we're going to lose a lot of it. And, reading a lot of interviews with pitchers, there's enough of them, I think, that are still very competitive about it. They want to hit the long ball. Remember that commercial back in the day, Chicks Dig the Long Ball?
Yes, yeah. With Maddox and Smoltz and Glavine,
McGuire. Yeah. Loved it. So, if I had the vote in it, I would keep the National League game going. I would love to get rid of the DH in that sense. But if you're going to do it, it was nice that there was a difference. There was a little bit more personality in the baseball when you had the DH versus the non-DH, and then interleague play started. It got kind of getting meshed. But I think we can agree that the economics of the game and the investment we have in these pitchers now, they're too valuable that ultimately it makes sense. Plus, I think if I'm the players union, it's more jobs because we're going to have either dedicated DHs or it gets more people into the system as far as hitting wise when they're having rest days off the field. So I think for the health of baseball, I think the universal DH is a good idea, but as a baseball purist, it sickens me. The same idea, the idea of like ending a baseball game on a home run derby, like the way they have it in hockey.
Yeah.
When they end a game on a shoot, I said it's no different in baseball that we end the regulation baseball game in the ninth inning, and then we go hit a home run derby, and then you start putting
Right.
guys on second base to start the inning. The pure side of me, gets really ill. So I hope they don't mess the game up too much. But on the other hand, they do enough to keep, the players, in good standing and healthy and active with jobs. So that's where I think, the collaboration between the owners and the players, they come up with the system. So it wasn't a surprise to me that they went universal DH.
Yeah, no, definitely 100%. There was something that they had to do. And, a lot of especially, I understand being a purist and understand, the traditional aspects of the game. There just has to be some things that have to change moving forward, because we understand that a younger generation is now watching our game, and we have to be able to at least help them, when it comes to some of the parts of our game that can be a little bit more entertaining for them. We have to understand that people, are not going to sit and watch the 3-4 hour game the same way they used to, that our game has been watched for a long period of time. So we have to start figuring out what are those things that are going to allow this next generation to still be attracted to this game and let it still be entertaining, while they consume it.
Thank you for enjoying today's episode of the Chosen Life podcast. Go ahead and hit the subscription button below and the notification bell to catch all of our great shows. And remember to contact the Chosen Lawyers when you are ready for your next real estate and commercial transaction. Go to kormans.ca.